Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Kat. This is my friend Carrie.
Care Bear.
Care Bear. So we're gonna do a segment here about our awakening story, what we've been through in our through growing up and everything that kind of woke us up throughout our life. So anyway, I'll hand it over to Carrie.
Oh, sure. How I woke up. Well, it wasn't as well. It was probably as dramatic as Kat here because she got hit by a freight train. I just got hit by stupidity, I guess. I was on an ATV out in the middle of Elk City, Idaho, out in the middle of nowhere land, driving an ATV, and I had been drinking. Not a good combination. Really bad. Don't do it. And I was in an accident. I don't remember the accident. It's like someone took a page and threw it out of my mind. And but I did. When it happened, I literally went into a state of the afterlife, and I was like in this incredible state of bliss. And that's the only way I could describe it. I was like floating in this ocean of love, and it was just completely serene and beautiful. It was quite, something. And I was approached, and I was asked, "Do you want to stay, or do you want to come back, or do you want to go back?" And there was something in my soul, and I said, "No, I have to stay because I came to see an event, and this event is something I want to see. I came to see this event." And the next thing I know, I'm back in my body, and I'm in a hospital. I'd been flown from Elk City, Idaho to Lewiston, Idaho, and when when they were evaluating me, I had broke my C1 in 2 places, my neck, and I had broke my back in 3 places. I crushed the left side of my body, and I had broke 5 ribs, shattered my sternum, and it was touch and go there for a while. And then when I was in the hospital, they took me, and I had to have 5 people just to roll me over, and I was laying there in the hospital bed that night, and they gave me Dilaudid, and I had allergic reaction to it. And I remember the 2 nurses, they were male nurses, and one was named Steve and the other one was Joe, and they were talking to me, and they were talking about what kind of books you like, how many kids you got, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I could feel my body just expanding and touching the walls and just getting, thinner and thinner. And then coming, every time I would breathe, it would come in and go out. And I'm like, okay, you guys, what's going on? And they said, well, your blood pressure is bottoming out, and just stay with us. Just stay with us. And I had made up my mind at that time. I'm not going anywhere. I'm sticking around here. And so that night, my lung collapsed, and I couldn't even vibrate my vocal cords, and I was like being smothered alive. And I was laying there, and I thought I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't even call out to anyone for help because I didn't have any air. And a voice said to me, "If you give in to fear, you will die." And so I just focused on that breath that I had, and I kept on telling myself, "You're okay, just breathe. You're okay, just breathe. You're okay, just breathe." And for 2.5 days, that was the mantra that I used, and I took it. "You're okay, just breathe, just breathe." And then after they were able to get me in an MRI, and they came in and said, "Your lung has collapsed. We're really sorry. We didn't notice." And they poked a hole and drained it out. But the whole issue is when I was going through this, in my mind, I realized that no matter what, I was going through it. Whether I like it or not, I'm going through it. And, there's some things in life we have no choices over. It's like what we're going through right now. We have no choice. We're going through this event, and the whole world is going through this event. And so the only choice I had was how I chose to go through it. Now I could go through it kicking and screaming and for me and victim mentality, or I could let go and allow the situation and allow the events to play out, but to keep my heart and to keep my soul in check and to say, I'm okay, just breathe. And also, what do I have to learn in this process that I'm going through? And that's how I chose to do it. I was like, okay, I can't stop these events from happening, but this is a teaching event. And I've never been in a situation where I have been the person that's been taken care of. Since I was a child, my mom was 47 when she had me, my dad was 63, and when I was a child, I was raised and I felt like I had to take care of them, and I had to, I've always been the care provider. I've always been the one to take care of everybody until that moment in time when I had to be the one that was being taken care of. I had to be the one that was on the receiving end instead of the giving end. And every one of us right now are going through a situation in our life. And I know that it's terrifying. I know that the world is at this present time looks like it's going to hell in a handbasket. But we don't have a choice over these situations. And there is a time and there is a place that we have come to that we have to realize that it's okay, just breathe. And what is the universe teaching me in this process? Because this is a birthing process. Once you go into this, you don't come out the other side the same. I've never been drunk since that time. That was my end of my drinking career, if you want to know that. Also, it was my awakening. It brought me to a place where it woke me up. It made me see the world in a whole different, beautiful, vibrant way that I had never seen before. It was the greatest gift that I had ever received, and it was the most traumatic event in my whole entire life. So, Christina.
Now me. Now you had a halo though too.
Oh yeah, you look right here. You can see my horns. There's one right there. There's one right there. I had a halo because I broke my horns. My horns at the top of my spine, and I had to wear it for 3 months, and it was like 4 screws in your head. It was the biggest piercing ornament you had ever seen in your life. And I went to the grocery store one time, and I was walking through the grocery store. My husband had to drive me there, and then he would sit in the car because he didn't like going shopping, but I love to. And so I was, when you go into one of those cases that you open up to get milk or eggs or something like that, well, there was this lady in her little, she was on her little scooter thing, and I was walking. And I got in there and I got my one of those posts in my halo stuck in there. I felt like a deer that had gotten stuck in that. She had to come help me out. And then, what do you want, dear? I'm like, well, I want that. It was quite a trying experience. But yeah, I survived. I broke my horns and got a halo and was praying for God to grow back my horns. And they're back now.
Okay, well tell them a little bit about your childhood growing up.
I was born and raised a Seventh-day Adventist, and I went to the boarding schools. I went to private schools. I went to boarding schools. I was very religious as a child. I was raised by, I was last out of 9. I learned all my social skills before I left home. And then when I got out, I became a Pentecostal. I went into the Army, and in the Army, they break down your psychic, and then they build you back up as a group. And so there's like a brainwashing technique that is done there. And then after I got out of the Army, my father ended up passing away. And it was like a year right after I got out. And I was kind of lost at that point in time. I'd gotten into an abusive relationship and then came out of that. And then I got involved in a organization that was where women had to wear skirts and they couldn't cut their hair. And it was very controlling, but I'd already been set up for the mind control. And I was in it for 16 and a half years before there was something in me that just didn't feel right. And my mom always said, you cannot do wrong and feel right. And if there's something in your heart that's just it hurts and it doesn't feel right, you have to go with that, because that's your North Star. That's something telling you that what you're doing, and it may tell you, oh, what you're doing is right, and you're on this rat on a treadmill, always trying to be perfect, and always trying to, you couldn't, you pray enough, you fast, you do all these things, but it can never seem to be that it's always like that carrot before the horse. You're running before it and you're trying to catch it, but that's elusive, and that's part of mind control. And then after I got out of that organization, I started studying a lot about mind control because I wanted to realize what had happened to me. And so I started to understand MK Ultra and Project Paperclip, and also I started running support groups for abused women, and I was doing crisis counseling at that time. And so it just kind of catapulted into a whole different understanding of because in the micro, it's in the micro and the macro. It happens on an individual basis, but it also happens in a organization situation, and it's exactly the same kind of portfolio that they're, it seemed like they all got together and they all had a class on how to screw somebody over. And to take away your freedom, to take away your rights, to take away your ability to be your own individuality, which is I consider one of the greatest sins in the world, is people get to live their life and they're abusers, and then they take the life of somebody else. And so they get to live their life, but the person that they overtake and overpower and force their will upon that person doesn't get to live their life. And it is a great harm to us, to each and every person that has fallen into those pits. Because as a person, we're born with certain talents, we're born with certain gifts. And when somebody steps over the boundary and imposes their will upon another person, it erases them from achieving the goal that they were sent to this planet to do.
Exactly. Totally agree.
Oh, good.
Totally agree.
Christina was there when I got in my accident. She came to visit me in the hospital.
We met through working at a Pier 1 import store.
Yeah.
There's stories about that too we can go into later. Anyway.
It's like, look at this beautiful item. It took 24 hours for someone to beat it, and it's $50. Makes you wonder what, doesn't it?
Maybe you don't remember. I remember always when the shipments would come in, and I would tell Heather, oh, look, it's an owl. It's Moloch. It's Moloch. And we used to make jokes about it, but it's true. The owls were everywhere in retail. And then you have the peacock, too, and the pyramids.
Oh, don't forget the cotton ball black Santa that showed up.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
That was amazing. You should have taken a picture.
That's crazy. Anyway, my story, basically my childhood, I'm French and German, so that's kind of where I get a little bit of my Spitfire when I need to.
I'm French and German too.
I think.
Yeah. Sister from another mother.
Yeah, we're both Scorpios. But I grew up in a family. We went to Catholic church every Sunday. I went to Sunday school. Had to learn all my prayers. I hated going to church because I hated to look at Jesus on the cross. I just never thought that was right. I didn't want to go every Sunday and look at this poor man hanging on a cross. It was kind of traumatic for me. But anyways, like my parents didn't, as we got older, they never really told us we had to go to church. We pretty much were raised to be free thinkers, I think. We weren't really, which is good. I've pretty much somewhat been awake all my life, but I've had stages of awakenings. I was brought up on the sci-fi and the cultish things just because on my dad's side, he was always into Star Trek and anything that had to do with space. And I remember having a book that he had and I would go and take it out of his closet, and it had all the planets. And there was even like a little record of all the different sounds that the planets would make, and I would listen to that. So I was always interested in space and anything sci-fi. And then on my mother's side, I think I get the cult stuff from her side, being French. My grandmother used to do the tarot card readings, and apparently the church found out and told her if she didn't stop, she would be excommunicated. So she apparently stopped that. But so that's kind of a little bit of my background. But so I've always sort of been awake to things, whether it be aliens or the cult and stuff like that. It's always been around me growing up. When I was 17, there was one day I was feeling really, really bad, and I didn't care whether I lived or died. I just was really depressed. I didn't care. I went shopping with my friend that day, and we came back, and she wanted to stay at my house that night. So she had to drop off some movies, and I told her, I said, I'm going to go ahead of you and just meet me at my house. So I went ahead of her, and this was in Hayden Lake, Idaho. And at the time, this was back in 1988, and a lot of the train crossings did not have lights. They didn't have guardrails. You basically took your chance to cross these sections. And I was driving parallel to the train track and probably going about 50 miles an hour. I pulled up right in front of the crossing. Two cars were talking to each other, and I was thinking, oh man, I'm gonna have to stop. These people are gonna be talking forever. I'm gonna be stuck here. And then, hold on. Okay, dog's outside. So one of the cars went straight over the track, like literally 30 seconds in front of me. So I followed, and it was on a kind of a steep incline, and it was gravelly. So I got up to the track, and the front wheels of my dad's truck that I was driving, which he had just paid off, I got up to the track, and the front tires were over the first railing. So I looked to my left, and there was nothing. And when you had to turn right, you had to completely turn your head around, and by the time I turned around, the train light was right there. The train never blew its horn. I never heard it. And all I remember is seeing that light in my vision and thinking, oh crap, I need to put this in reverse. So I put it in reverse, and that's all I remember. And then the next thing I remember is having the emergency people, the paramedics there, and then putting a board under me and putting a neck brace on me, and they asked me, do you remember what happened? And all I could say was train. So I knew there was a train. I knew I got hit by the train. So apparently there were a couple of sections where people always got hit by trains, and literally every 2 to 3 months around that time, but pretty much all of them died. So I was lucky enough I wasn't further out onto the track, because the train would have just drug me further. But when it hit me, it hit the passenger side of the door, and it flipped the truck, and I landed upside down. So I was hanging from the seatbelt. Apparently somebody, a guardian angel, I'm assuming, came and pulled me out. I was told it was somebody I went to school with, saw this happen, and pulled me out of the truck because they were afraid that it was going to catch on fire. So I don't remember anybody getting me out of the truck. I got to the hospital, and I can't remember being in any other place. I just remember darkness, I must have been in a void somewhere, but I just remember laying in a room for what seemed like a very long time, without anybody coming in to check on me. I was in and out of consciousness. But I have a scar. I slit my ear. I have a scar right here and right here. I was very, very lucky. I had a wonderful guardian angel. So I just had, my ear was cut. I have a huge scar right here. That's why my hair part's kind of funny right there. So I have a scar there. And I had a lot of nerve damage in my right lower calf. And only until recently, it's kind of cleared up and it's gotten better. But for almost 30 some years, it was pretty much numb the whole time. And then I guess that same guardian angel, from what I hear, came to visit me in the hospital. And I don't remember anybody, and nobody else can remember this person visiting me in the hospital. But that's the story I remember. So it's just really, really, really strange.
He's still hanging out with you.
He's still hanging out with me. That's right. My parents had to go look at the car a few days later, and I didn't want to go look at it. I was traumatized. I was like, I'm not going to go look at it. I don't want to see it. And my mom came back to the truck, and she just looked at me with her mouth open. She's like, oh my God, I don't know how you survived. I really don't know how you survived. You had a darn good guardian angel. And pretty much ever since then, like after not wanting to live that day and this happening to me, I was forever grateful to God for saving my life. And it really changed my outlook on life in general, and just learning to appreciate what I had and what I was going through. So that was my train wreck part. But I probably had
an astrological event on that one. Squares everywhere, squares and more squares.
You know, astrology.
Opposing, opposition.
9/11 was another wake up, and that was a big wake up for a lot of people too. What about you?
9/11. Oh, I remember 9/11. But I think 9/11 is a good number. It's just been shanghaied.
Well, yeah.
And I remember the towers coming down. I remember, because we didn't have a TV at the time, and my mom had one, and I was taking care of her, and we were all crowded into her bedroom watching this event, mm-hmm. And it was quite a horrifying thing. I had been out of the military, and my service was still not up. And so I could have gone back and at that point in time to gone, be reinstated in the Army, but that never happened. Yeah, I just kind of missed the cutoff there. But I was thinking what you had said, gratitude. Gratitude is one of the greatest things that we could generate in what we're going through, and find something to be grateful for. Find something to have gratitude, because gratitude generates a very high vibration, and it helps you wherever you put your energy at. Energy flows, and if you're in gratitude. When I was in my accident, I kept on repeating, I'm so grateful, and finding something to be grateful for. I couldn't even roll over. I had to have 5 people just to reposition me on the bed. And then when I was told that I may never walk again, I was told that they were going to slice my throat and go in and put some hardware in there. And every time they would say this, I would just say, I'm so grateful, I'm so thankful, and thank you that I'm still alive, thankful that I didn't hurt anyone, thankful, And the gratitude is what's going to generate a higher vibration to bring you into a better quality of life, because where you vibrate at is where you live. And the universe is mental. So whatever you are, if you're, oh, poor me, yeah, well, yeah, you're going to have poor me. You could write a story of woe is me, because the universe will generate that for you.
Whatever you put out, you're going to attract.
You're drawing it back, because, the universe, as in the mind, so it is in reality. And if you start generating gratitude, I'm so thankful. And I believe that was part of my healing process. And obviously it sounds like part of yours too.
Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of people woke up during 9/11, and then right around the crash of 2008 too. Like I lost my job. I was a travel agent. I worked for American Express. And so I lost my job. My husband lost his job as a contractor at 3M. I lost my job only because I didn't even feel it was my fault, but they said it was my fault. I think they were money laundering. Now that I think back on it, I wish I would have kept the paperwork because I had worked on a reservation. I think it was Turkish Airlines, and it was like a one-way ticket for two people, and the whole cost of it was only like $3,000. I documented the record crazily, like put everything in there in detail. And somehow, apparently, it came back to me saying that I should have never touched the record and that it cost them $60,000. $60,000 to replace this flight or do whatever they had to do. They made up some hunky story about, it costing $60,000. And that's why I lost my job.
I didn't know you had so much power.
I was like, there's no way a $3,000 flight would have cost $60,000 no matter what you had to negotiate. So there was definitely in American Express with JP Morgan, and we're all finding out about all the money laundering going on, and I'm like, now that I look back, I'm like, that was total money laundering going on, and it wasn't just me that lost my job because it, like many of us, and we were work at home agents, got let go because of these stupid things that we did that it cost the company thousands of dollars. So that was just kind of weird for me. But I don't know that you ever had what they call the dark night of the soul.
Oh, I had a few of them.
I mean, besides with your accident, that's kind of one.
No, I've had when I left the organization that I was in, and when you come out of mind control, you're not operating in your own truth, and so when you come out, I remember after 16 and a half years of someone saying you had to wear this outfit, you couldn't cut your hair, you couldn't. I remember standing in my closet and looking at my clothes, not even knowing who I was. I mean, it was just this really horrid feeling of like, who am I? I mean, what, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what I like anymore. I don't. And also the mental tantalizing of you're wrong and they're right. I mean, in the time I've seen some really horrifying stuff of now that's a whole nother story. But when I went through this, leaving this organization where it was like mind control, just complete mind control, and I wasn't walking in my own truth. I was being remote controlled by a very controlling mechanism, controlling man-made dogma. And when I came out of it, I had to reestablish myself. I had to refine myself, and that was a dark night of the soul. I remember I felt like I was stepping off a cliff into the abyss and just trusting the God to catch me and to keep me, but I could no longer stay there, and it was either that or die. And I chose life, but it was really hard to do, because when you choose to walk away from something that has kept you in a box, when you get out, it's a very frightening thing, because you have to kick in your critical thinking skills. You have to kick in your ability. They were threatening to take my children away. My husband was threatening to divorce me. He actually threw me out of the house. I mean, and my children were standing at the window watching me drive off. And there were some dark days. Pretty much.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Well.
Wow.
But
so
people do a lot of things out of fear. It's not like I'm blaming anyone or I'm pointing fingers. I mean, every time, and this is very important, every person that is hearing us talk right here, right now, if you have been found in a situation like this, you give your power away. and there's no blame. I'm not blaming. I'm not pointing fingers. Somebody done me wrong or I gave my power away. And when you pick your power back up and you walk in your truth, yeah, you will go through a dark night of the soul. You will go through a whole, metamorphosis to say, when a worm turns into a butterfly. I'm sure it's quite a frightening thing. And that's exactly what it is. And you, when you start walking in truth, walking to the beat of your own heartbeat and your own, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't sound right to me. Regardless of who's my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, my employer, it doesn't matter. You walk in your truth. You pay the price that you have to pay, and it's cheap.
So yeah, I think I had my dark night of the soul in 2009. When after we lost our jobs, we left Texas, we moved to Washington State, and I was really depressed. And I just really broke down one night, and I just cried like I never cried before. And I just kept saying, I want to go home. I didn't want to die. I just kept saying, I want to go home. I want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here on this planet. I want to go home. And then shortly after that, I started doing some research online, and I started finding some websites and some people that I would listen to. Project Camelot was a big one for me. N5D.com, David Wilcox, The Giza Matrix by Richard Gabriel. That has some fascinating information and pictures of the Giza Plateau. David Icke, Brian Forrester, and then I found George Cavassalis from Australia, and I really resonated with his information. And so in 2011, he did a tour of the U.S., and he went to the Study Ranch in Trout Lake, Washington, and at the time, I couldn't find anybody to go with me, and I know, I didn't know you did. And I was like, I don't care, I'm going. Like, something just told me, you have to go. So I packed up my car, I told my husband, I left my 4-year-old daughter with him, and I'm like, I'm going, bye, I'm going to be gone for 4 days. And I left, and took 6.5 hour drive there, and it was a really awesome experience for me. Like I said, the conference was great. The people were just great. You just felt that vibration. And like anybody who's been to like Trump rallies or any kind of thing like that, where you have people of the same frequency, like you feel like they're your family, and you're so happy and you're just vibrating, and it feels so nice. And you're just like, gosh, everybody's so nice. And everybody had a story to tell. They either had lost their job, they were going through a divorce, they lost their house, so everybody had something in common and something to share. And I got to see the UFOs at night. It was great. They pointed them out with the lasers, and they would come in and they would like shrink down and they would just light up. And it was just fascinating. And then they had the portals on the mountains, the lights would light up, and I even got to see real fairies. There were real fairies. A man camping next to us took pictures in their fields, and I'm telling you, fairies are real. You might think I'm crazy, but
a lot of people, we say that, we don't believe, or we believe, but when you look at belief, and this is how I look at belief, is if I believe something, it doesn't mean I realize something or I know something. It's either hearsay. Somebody told me, it could have been, thousands of years ago, this happened, this event happened. I wasn't there. I don't know anyone that was there. But it's all hearsay. So we all have beliefs. But one thing, beliefs are no longer beliefs when you have an experience. Right. It becomes a reality.
Exactly. And that's just
so it. I can't say that there is fairies or is fairies because I've actually had my epiphanies on fairies. So
yeah.
I'm not And there's a lot of things out there we haven't seen, we don't know.
Well, we can only see so much with our human eye, too. So
it's a binary beat when we were born in utero, and we only have a very small spectrum that we actually see out of. If we could see everything, we'd probably be quite.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
But I know people that have a very thin layer of their reality is much broader than my spectrum, and I know that what they're seeing is true reality because they wouldn't know some of the things that they know, and it resonates with experiences that I've had. And so it's very, we all live in a world that we are exploring, that we are trying to bring in as much information and understanding as we possibly can. And to say, I think the greatest thing that any one of us can do is to say, I don't know.
Exactly.
That could be true, could not.
You don't know, you don't know.
I mean, all it is information, but I haven't experienced. I haven't gone through the scientific understanding of it either. And so, I'm willing to say on the things I don't know.
Right.
But there are some things I definitely know.
Right. Carrie knows a whole lot of stuff I don't know, but I don't follow. And then there's stuff I know she doesn't know.
One of my favorite guys to follow is Mark Pasquio. It's called Stand to Reason. If you really want to know what's happening in this world right now, I think he has one of the clearest and the most profound information that's out there. It's Mark Pasquio, and it's not Stand Reason. It's what on earth is happening? Like, what on earth is happening? That's the person that I listen to, and he came out of the occult, and it was a very secret society, and he said that they've been planning what they're doing right now for a very long time, and he knew it was happening, and so for like 13, 14 years, he's been telling everyone. He sounded like a deranged lunatic when he started telling his stories, and what was, what these so-called elites, they're not elites, but they think they're elite, and are doing, and what their plan, and they plan to enslave the whole planet and to depopulate it, and that's exactly what's happening right now.
Yeah. Well, I just remember when I went to the conference with George, this was 10 years ago, he was talking about how sometime soon, like, we were going to have this huge event that would be all over the TV, all over the world. And he said, just sit back and eat your popcorn. That's what he said. He said, because we're going to go through this whole change. He said, but we're not going to be completely free out of this first cycle. He said, it's going to take one more cycle, and then we will be completely free and sovereign. So
we are
everything he said has been true.
We are living in a slave world, and we don't even own the land that we live off of. They want our taxes. They want they take away all of our generation of power, which is our ability to manifest on this plane of existence. And so what we're realizing, that we are enslaved. And once a slave realizes they're enslaved, we have to realize the steps that we need to take to no longer be enslaved. And this is part of the waking up process. And we're coming out of a very dark part of the human experience, and we're going into a much better place. But we're also on the cusp of change. And right now we're leaving Pisces, and we're going into the age of Aquarius, and we're there's a wrecking ball that has come through and has just leveled everything, and to level everything for rebirth. And also we're coming into the age where the femininity is going to be a much more balanced. It has been subverted. It has been we've lived under a lot of tyranny, and I'm not just talking about women. I'm talking about the feminine power, the nurturing, the intuition, the mother, the also there is a part of a woman that they give birth and nurture and care and value. But there's also another part of the femininity. It's also what we're seeing right now. It's the wrecking ball. It's Kali. It's taking everything out. It's just wiping the slate clean.
Mama Bear.
That's right. And don't mess with
Mama
her.
Bear's pissed.
And she's going to kill and take, but taking down all these powers that no longer serve. And once we get that, we're, zero is an awesome. It's a circle. It's just nothing there. And with nothing, there is potential. And that's where we're coming to. We're being taken to that point of nothingness, and to there we can put into that circle what needs to be put in there. It's like giving birth to a new era of time, and this is what we're going through right now. And it is a very uncertain time. It is also very frightening for other people. And I mean, I think of what I've gone through and probably what you've gone through, Christine, is like, oh, okay, another ride.
Woohoo, go!
Oh yeah, but
We'll just surf it.
Yeah, that's right. We've had our near-death experience. I can honestly tell you, it does not hurt to die, but it does hurt to live.
It does.
And right now, there's a lot of people in pain, and I'm not diminishing that whatsoever. But I'm telling you that see positive, and every day that you wake up, when you open your eyes, say, I am so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be alive. What does the universe here have to offer me? What is it teaching me at this point of my life? And start a mantra of and I call it mantras, you call it just positive thinking, but whatever that it takes, just start, write it down and then just say it over and over again, so that you can, your subconscious will take onto that, and you will start to generate that. Because when I was in my accident and I was sleeping in a hospital bed for like 3 months in my living room after 9 days in the hospital. Yeah. I every morning I would wake up and I would say, I'm so grateful to be here. What an awesome day. Isn't it a beautiful day? It is, it's a great day to be alive. And even now, 5 years later, I still do the same thing. It's a beautiful day. It can be raining, pouring, it doesn't matter. I'm alive. And today is a beautiful day for a miracle, for opportunity, and to see something new that you have never seen. And be amazed, because the universe will bring you stuff that will blow your mind every day. Yeah. I get something like, oh, this is so cool. I'm so excited. It's like new information, new friend.
Right. And, and like she said, there's a lot of darkness, and we tend to want to, we feel a lot of hatred towards that. But then again, there's a time that we need to thank that darkness for teaching us a lesson. Because without that lesson, who knows where we would be,
Well, we could always be thankful that we weren't chosen to be that dark soul that has brought about this change, because they were set up. There was probably
they had to do their part.
They had to do their part, and I'm glad that I don't have to do that part.
Yeah, right.
I get to bring the light. They get to bring the darkness.
We are holders of the light. Yes.
Well, every day we have choices. There's a lot of things we don't have choices over, but we do have choices to our responses. And they have made many choices that brought them to fulfill the dark part of this experience that we're going through. Right. And I'm not, every one of us have a choice to make. And we can choose truth, we can choose light, we can choose love, we can choose hope, or we could choose hate, or we could choose fear, or we could choose, animosity or victimhood. Yeah. Victimhood does not serve anyone.
No.
But there's a lot of people that want to generate victimhood right now. And we're seeing it sweeping, like a spirit. There is what I consider high magic that is being done in this time that we're living in. And magic is where you have where they, as above, so below, they take your thoughts and they project their thoughts into you. They take your emotions, and they're not your emotions, but their emotions that they want you to have an emotional charge. And then the outcome will come, that force of will, the action that manifests whatever they want to manifest. And we're playing into them if we give them our thoughts, if we give them our emotions, because then we will give them our actions. And that's what we're seeing right now. And it's part of the MK Ultra program, part of Project Paperclip. It is mind control. And anyone that is watching the media right now, or buying into the victimhood, you're buying into this sorcery, black magic, and extricate yourself from it as fast as you can, and let your mind be your own, and go with the light. Don't go to the darkness.
Shut your TV off.
Bad place.
Shut your TV off and go outside.
You see it in the movies too. They've been working with this for a very long time, and if you have the narrative, if you have the attention of the people, if you have people that you have the Hollywood, you have government, you have the school systems. There's so many things out there that are in a fight for your thoughts, and you need to stand back and evaluate your thoughts, and then ask yourself, where are these thoughts taking me? And then change them.
Right.
And I know that every one of us can sing a song that somebody done us wrong. And there's a lot of people that have done me wrong, done you wrong. I mean, it's out there.
Oh, yeah.
But the greatest gift that you could give yourself is forgiveness. Not forgiving them to say, I forgive you. No, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. Because once you forgive, you are no longer attached to that person. If you have that hate, or you have that, charge of negativity, you become attached to that person. And so the pain that they are bringing could have lasted for a moment. Now it could last for a lifetime. We don't want that.
No. Anything else?
Not for today. Probably talk to poor later.
I know. Okay, and I'm just going to end with a wonderful little saying that Alex Collier always talks about in his speeches, and I love him. I followed him for a long time. I love you, Alex. He always says, the broken pieces will eventually find their way home, or all the broken pieces will eventually find their way home. So
mine is, if two people are thinking exactly alike, one of them's not thinking. However, if a massive amount of people are thinking exactly alike, run.
Exactly. All right. Well, everybody, hang in there. I hope you have a good day. And if you have any questions, email us at the link below. I'll try and get in there and read some emails. Thank you so much for watching. And we love you all. Just stay in there. Hold the line. We're gonna get through this. Okay. Have a wonderful day.